My name is Jessica, and 3 months ago, I discovered something that shattered my world. My husband wasn't cheating with another woman. He was cheating with a man. At first, I felt numb. Shock, betrayal, confusion. It's like my entire life had been a lie. But what he didn't know was that I was about to make him regret ever crossing me. And when I did, the look on his face. I'll never forget it. If you've ever been betrayed, lied to, or underestimated by someone you loved, you know the mix of anger and heartbreak that comes with it. Today, I'm sharing a story that will make your blood boil and your jaw drop. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because this is one revenge story you don't want to miss. I had been married to Mark for 7 years. On paper, we had it all, a cozy house in a quiet neighborhood, mutual friends who envied our life, and the kind of love that people described as enviable. But beneath the surface, I should have noticed the small cracks forming. Missed calls, hushed phone conversations that ended abruptly, long nights at the office that suddenly turned into late drinks with clients. At first, I chalked it up to stress. I trusted him. I loved him. I wanted to believe in us. I'm Jessica, and like many people, I believed in the promises I was given. The kind that whisper softly, "I'll never hurt you. I'll always be here." But those whispers are the most dangerous. They lull you into blind trust. The night it all came crashing down started like any other. I had flown in from a work trip, expecting a quiet evening. I had imagined his smile, a glass of wine, maybe even dinner together. But when I opened the front door, the air itself seemed thick with betrayal. There they were, my husband, with a man, laughing, touching, sharing intimate moments I had no right to see. My heart stopped. My body froze. My mind raced. It was surreal. My legs felt like lead, my stomach twisted into knots, and I had to grip the door frame to keep from collapsing. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But I just stood there, watching my perfect life dissolve in front of my eyes. My mind went through 1,000 cycles: shock, denial, grief, anger. Questions slammed into me like speeding cars. How long? Was I not enough? Did he ever love me? I confronted him that night. I demanded answers. He stammered. He blamed me subtly. He tried to rationalize, to explain, to charm me back into silence. But the more he spoke, the angrier I became, not just for what he did, but for the audacity, the arrogance, and the years of lies he had built around our marriage. I remember pacing our living room, my palms sweaty, nails digging into my skin. My chest ached. And yet, amid the shock and anger, a spark ignited. I realized I wasn't going to crumble. I wasn't going to let him win. He had underestimated me, and he was about to regret it. I thought, "Mark, you think you can hide this. You think I'll be destroyed forever. But I'll show you the power of a woman who's been underestimated. I'll show you the cost of betrayal." The next few days were a blur. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and powerless. But I refused to act impulsively. Revenge requires patience. It requires planning. It requires understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. I began documenting everything: messages, dates, inconsistencies, and the social network he thought he controlled. Every lie became a weapon. Every secret became ammunition. I wasn't just planning revenge. I was crafting justice. And I would make sure it was precise, humiliating, and unforgettable. At first, I hesitated. Could I really take someone down like this? But then I remembered every sleepless night, every pang of betrayal, and the sheer audacity of his deception. My resolve solidified. I would reclaim my life, and he would feel the consequences of his actions fully. I could feel my blood simmering with a quiet rage, my heartbeat accelerating every time I opened his phone, found a hidden message, or discovered a lie. There was a thrill in uncovering the truth, a dark satisfaction in knowing exactly what he had done, and what he had yet to realize I was capable of. Planning revenge is like painting a masterpiece. Every stroke must be intentional, every detail considered. I started with his social circle. Friends, colleagues, acquaintances, they all had been part of his carefully curated facade. I would expose the cracks, little by little. First, I planted subtle truths, innocuous-seeming statements, hints of inconsistencies, carefully timed social media posts that questioned his reliability. Doubt began to creep in, and he didn't even see it coming. Next, I began targeting his ego. The man prided himself on control, power, and reputation. Every lie I revealed would be a small blow to his image. Every subtle exposure would make him twitch, doubt himself, and feel the slow creep of humiliation. One evening, he confronted me. "Jessica, what are you doing? Why are people acting strange around me?" I smiled faintly, calm as ever. Just making sure everyone sees the truth, eventually, it becomes impossible to ignore. His eyes widened. Confusion, fear, and anger battled across his face. And for the first time, I saw the man I had married being undone, not by force, but by truth, patience, and precision. Once I had gathered all the proof, messages, photos, financial inconsistencies, and his carefully hidden secrets, I knew it was time to act. The first wave of my plan wasn't about confrontation. It was about subtlety. I started with his friends. The people who had always admired him, the ones who saw him as the perfect husband, the perfect man. I let them see small truths. Innocuous comments, casual mentions of his disappearing nights, hints about him being less than honest. Nothing direct at first, just enough to seed doubt. I watched from a distance as their reactions shifted. The warm smiles, the easy camaraderie, started to feel forced. Conversations shortened. Invitations declined. People who once gushed about him now hesitated before speaking. And Mark, oblivious, began to notice cracks but didn't understand their cause. That, to me, was delicious. This is how the dominoes fall. One whisper here, one hint there, the illusion of perfection crumbles, and all of it points to him. He'll feel the pressure, the isolation. He won't even know I'm the hand behind it. Next, I turned to his work environment. Mark was someone who thrived on control and respect. He believed people admired him, feared him, or envied him. So I started planting subtle doubts among colleagues. A casual mention of someone hearing things here. A question about his commitment there. Anonymous messages, strategically placed, designed to make him appear unreliable, dishonest, and secretive. I remember one evening, sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, heart pounding as I typed yet another carefully worded message. I could hear him laughing in the living room, confident, arrogant, entirely unaware that his carefully curated image was unraveling. I paused and smiled. The tension between action and inaction, knowing the storm is coming, it was intoxicating. "Colleague, Mark, are you sure about this project? There are rumors about your availability." "Mark, rumors? About me? That's absurd." While the social manipulation was happening in the background, I started targeting his emotional core. Mark had always prided himself on loyalty from the people around him, friends, family, me. So I slowly peeled away his support system. I reached out to old friends who had drifted apart from him, sharing select truths about his secret life, timing it so it appeared accidental, as if coincidence revealed his own misdeeds. Invitations he expected vanished. Messages he sent were ignored. Social circles whispered, suspicious glances exchanged. I watched his behavior change. He became defensive, paranoid, jittery. The confident, charming man I knew turned into someone fragile, twitching at every glance. The humiliation hadn't even begun publicly, yet he was already crumbling internally. This is it. Every seed I planted grows into doubt, suspicion, and fear. He's trapped in a maze he didn't even know existed. The more he struggles, the tighter the walls close in. But revenge is never clean. One night, just as I was preparing my next move, Mark stumbled upon a clue, a minor inconsistency I hadn't masked completely. He started asking questions, suspicious of my actions, of my sudden calm, of the invisible strings I was pulling. I remember the moment vividly, him standing in the doorway, fists clenched, eyes narrowing. "Jessica, what are you doing?" he demanded. I froze for a heartbeat. This was the first real threat to my plan. Could he uncover everything? Would I have to move faster than intended? Stay calm. Don't panic. He can't know. Not yet. One wrong move and the entire plan collapses. But no, he's impatient. He underestimates me. That will be his downfall. The next week, I accelerated the pace. I started letting more truths leak into social spaces where Mark thrived. Dinner parties, neighborhood gatherings, work events. Nothing direct, just enough for people to notice inconsistencies, to question his integrity, to whisper behind his back. I observed his reactions like a hawk. He became jittery, scanning rooms nervously, misinterpreting glances. His arrogance had been replaced by paranoia. Every step I took, every calculated exposure, drove him closer to collapse. One night, I arranged a casual gathering with friends. Mark walked in, expecting adoration. Instead, he met guarded smiles, hesitant conversations, and subtle, pointed questions. By the end of the evening, he was sweating, confused, flustered, powerless. This is just the beginning. Every glance, every whisper, every doubt, it's all mine to orchestrate. He's trapped in a web he can't escape, and the walls are closing in faster than he realizes. I spent hours reflecting, analyzing every move, every emotion. My pain had been raw, burning, almost unbearable, but now it was controlled, refined, a tool of power. I could feel the thrill of dominance not in brute force, but in intelligence, patience, and precision. Mark's downfall wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming what he stole, my dignity, my trust, my peace. Each step forward made me stronger, more unshakable. I realized that in understanding his weaknesses, I was also understanding myself. I'm not just hurting him. I'm proving to myself that betrayal doesn't define me, that I can take the pain and turn it into power. That's the real victory. And it's only beginning. The tension kept building. Mark, unaware of the full scope, was starting to crack under pressure. Friends whispered, colleagues questioned, his ego faltered. But the ultimate moment, the true payoff, was still ahead. I knew it. I could feel it. The next few moves would push him over the edge. The humiliation, the exposure, the justice, all coming at once. And when it did, it would be unforgettable, for him and for me. Patience, Jessica. Timing is everything. One wrong move and it's wasted. But when it works, oh, it will be beautiful. Sweet, sweet justice. The night had finally come. I had planned a gathering under the guise of a casual dinner, friends, neighbors, and colleagues who had long admired Mark's so-called perfect life. Everything had been orchestrated to appear ordinary, yet beneath the surface, it was anything but. I arrived early, ensuring everything was perfect. Candles flickered on the dining table, soft music played in the background, and the atmosphere was warm, deceptively warm. Mark believed this dinner would be like any other, an opportunity to display charm and control. But he had no idea that every detail, every person, was part of a carefully constructed trap. Everything has to be perfect. Timing, placement, exposure, all elements in place. One misstep, and the moment loses its impact. But I am meticulous, patient, and he is about to experience every consequence of his actions. Mark arrived, confident and unaware. The usual smug grin, the practiced charm. He greeted people, shook hands, laughed lightly at jokes. But I noticed subtle shifts already. Friends who once hung on his every word hesitated. Colleagues exchanged knowing glances. I could see the micro-expressions he didn't notice, the creeping doubt, the discomfort, the slight confusion. We sat down for dinner, the table elegantly set. Conversations flowed, seemingly ordinary, but I had orchestrated every topic, every comment, every small observation to expose his lies gradually. It wasn't loud or aggressive, it was subtle, insidious, and perfectly humiliating. Neighbor, Mark. I heard you were out late last week. I wasn't sure what that was about. Mark, laughing nervously. Oh, just work, nothing unusual. Colleague, him, some of us were surprised, considering you said you'd be at the charity event. Timing seems off. Perfect. Every tiny crack is starting to show. He's still pretending, still clinging to the facade, but the walls are crumbling. As dinner progressed, the tension intensified. Friends and acquaintances, carefully prepped through subtle whispers and staged hints, began asking questions. Nothing direct about his affair yet, but enough to make Mark sweat. I watched him fidget, adjusting his tie, checking his watch, forcing smiles that didn't reach his eyes. He tried to dominate conversations, to redirect attention, but each attempt met with polite indifference or veiled skepticism. His confidence, the same confidence that had carried him for years, began to erode. Yes, Let the fear grow. Let the panic simmer. The higher he flies, the harder the fall. And tonight, it's about to be catastrophic. Then, the moment I had orchestrated from day one. A seemingly casual question from a friend about honesty and trust. I leaned forward, my tone calm, controlled, almost conversational. You know, I said softly, it's interesting how much we think we know about someone, until we find out the truth. I placed my phone on the table, screen facing the group. Notifications, messages, and photos displayed. Proof of Mark's affair with the man he had tried to hide. Names, dates, times, the truth laid bare for everyone. Mark's eyes widened. His face paled. I could feel the weight of realization pressing down on him before he even opened his mouth. He stammered, trying to deny, to deflect, but the evidence was irrefutable. Every lie, every secret, exposed. Mark, Jessica, what, how? Friend. Mark, is this true? Neighbor. I had no idea. I don't know what to say. This is it. The look on his face, the perfect combination of shock, horror, and panic. He's exposed. Powerless. And the humiliation is absolute. Mark's composure shattered. He tried to retreat, to explain, but every word fell flat. His friends recoiled, some whispered to each other, others stared in disbelief. I could see the betrayal he had caused reflected back at him in every glance, every expression. He collapsed into a chair, shoulders slumped, face in his hands. For a moment, he was a broken man. No charm, no arrogance, no defenses, just a man confronted by the consequences of his deception. This is the moment I imagined 100 times. Not violence, not yelling, just truth. Justice served perfectly. The humiliation, the fear, the regret, it's all mine to witness. I didn't stop at exposure. The next step was precision humiliation. I called attention to the details he tried to hide, slowly narrating the inconsistencies, the double life, the betrayal he inflicted on me and everyone who trusted him. The room went silent, every eye on him. I watched as his ego crumbled, the carefully built image of a confident, respected man erased in moments. Tears welled up in his eyes, not from remorse, but from the realization of complete social defeat. Jessica, I trusted you. I believed in us. And you lived a lie. Not just with me, but with everyone who ever thought they knew you. Tonight, they know the truth. And there's nothing you can do to take it back. Mark, Jessica, no. You don't get to speak right now. You get to feel. And yes, feel it fully. As he slumped, sobbing quietly, I felt a rush of emotions, relief, triumph, validation. The anger that had simmered for months finally transformed into peace. Every sleepless night, every pang of betrayal, every moment I questioned my worth, all of it led to this. It wasn't cruelty, it was justice. And it was beautiful in its precision. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. I didn't attack physically. I let the truth speak, let the universe do its work, and I witnessed the unmasking of someone who had thought they could control everything. This is the power of patience, intelligence, and resolve. Revenge is sweet, but earned. And tonight, I earned it fully. The following days were surreal. Friends and colleagues approached me, expressing shock, support, and awe at the way I handled everything. Mark, meanwhile, was isolated, humiliated, and grappling with the reality that his reputation and relationships had crumbled. I continued to maintain calm composure, observing quietly as the social fallout unfolded. Every whispered conversation he overheard, every hesitant greeting from someone he once considered a friend, it was a reminder of the meticulous precision of the plan. He underestimated me. He underestimated the power of truth, the force of consequences, the inevitability of justice. And now, everything he built is gone. Perfectly orchestrated, beautifully delivered. Sitting alone in our now quiet home, I reflected on the journey, the betrayal, the planning, the execution. I realized that revenge wasn't just about Mark. It was about reclaiming myself. Reclaiming my dignity, my trust in myself, my power to shape outcomes. I learned that the deepest pain could be transformed into strength. That betrayal could fuel precision, patience, and clarity. And most importantly, that justice, when executed with careful thought, is deeply satisfying, not just for spectacle, but for the emotional closure it provides. I survived the betrayal. I thrived through planning. And I emerged stronger, wiser, and fully in control. Karma wasn't blind tonight, it was meticulous, deliberate, and I was its architect. The days following the dinner were surreal. The storm had passed, and for the first time in months, I could breathe without the constant weight of betrayal pressing on my chest. Mark's world had collapsed. My world, though bruised and battered, was slowly reclaiming its shape. I sat in our living room, sipping a cup of tea, reflecting on everything: the shock of discovery, the nights spent planning, the thrill of seeing the plan unfold. The raw pain of betrayal still lingered, but now it had transformed. The anger, once a burning inferno, had cooled into clarity. The grief had shaped itself into strength. And the humiliation, no longer mine to bear, but his to own. Pain is temporary, but clarity is permanent. Anger can be a tool if used wisely. Betrayal can either break you or forge you into someone stronger. I chose the latter. Betrayal is a strange thing. It isn't just the act, it's the erosion of trust, the quiet questioning of your own judgment, the creeping doubt that follows you long after the act itself. I learned that betrayal often exposes the worst in people: the selfishness, the lies, the audacity. But I also learned something else. It exposes the best in you. Your resilience, your intelligence, your ability to adapt and respond with precision rather than rage. True strength isn't in reacting impulsively, it's in assessing, planning, and reclaiming control over the narrative. Mark thought his lies would define me. He thought his deceit would weaken me. But it was the opposite. The betrayal fueled my clarity, sharpened my resolve, and revealed the depths of my own power. I often reflect on the nature of justice. True justice isn't cruelty. It isn't revenge for revenge's sake. True justice is balance. It is ensuring that consequences match actions. And in orchestrating this plan, I realized that I wasn't just serving karma, I was reclaiming my dignity. Empowerment doesn't come from hurting someone else. It comes from understanding your own value and refusing to be a victim. The thrill of seeing Mark crumble wasn't in watching him suffer. It was in witnessing the restoration of balance, the reassertion of fairness, the undeniable truth that no one has the right to diminish your worth. I didn't just get revenge. I restored equilibrium. I reminded myself and everyone around that deceit, manipulation, and betrayal have costs. And the power of knowing your worth, that is unshakable. After the storm, I took time to heal, not just physically, but emotionally. I allowed myself to grieve, to feel the sting of betrayal fully, and then slowly, deliberately, I began to rebuild. I focused on my passions, my friendships, my career. I strengthened the relationships that mattered, rebuilt the ones damaged by deception, and learned to trust cautiously but confidently. Healing isn't linear. Some days are harder than others. But I realized that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to no longer let someone else's actions control your life. I am not defined by Mark's betrayal. I am defined by my strength, my intelligence, my courage, and my ability to transform pain into power. Every step forward is a victory. I also reflected on human behavior, on why people betray, why they hide, why they lie. Often, it's not about the other person. It's about weakness, fear, insecurity, and ego. Understanding this helped me frame my actions with clarity, not hatred. I learned that true control isn't about manipulation or deceit. It's about knowing the limits of others, anticipating their moves, and acting deliberately with strategy and patience. Revenge, when carefully executed, is not chaos. It is a mirror, reflecting truth back to those who thought they were untouchable. Every step I took was deliberate. Every revelation, every carefully timed exposure, it wasn't anger speaking. It was precision. Justice doesn't shout, it whispers, then hits when least expected. Now, I look back and see not just the betrayal, but the lessons. I see the power of patience, the importance of clarity, and the strength of self-worth. Betrayal doesn't weaken you. It can reveal your capacity for resilience, strategy, and grace under pressure. Mark's downfall was not my revenge alone. It was a consequence of his own choices, his arrogance, his underestimation of me. And that's the most powerful lesson of all. No one can take your strength unless you allow them to. No one can diminish your worth unless you surrender it. I am whole again. Not because I destroyed him, but because I reclaimed myself. The betrayal no longer has power over me. My life is mine to direct, and that is the ultimate victory. The weeks following Mark's public exposure were strange, quiet, surreal, almost dreamlike. People approached me differently now. Some with curiosity, some with admiration, some with a quiet respect for the strength they had just witnessed. I moved through my days with a sense of calm I hadn't felt in years. The constant anxiety, the sleepless nights, the gnawing sense of betrayal, gone. Replaced by clarity, determination, and a renewed sense of self. I focused on myself, my work, my friendships, my personal passions. It was a slow process, but every step forward was a step away from the shadow of the past. The weight of betrayal no longer defined me. Instead, it became a reminder of how far I had come, of how strong I had become. Every scar, every sleepless night, every pang of heartbreak, it led to this. I am not defined by his deceit. I am defined by my resilience, my intelligence, and my ability to reclaim my life. People often ask me if I regret what I did. Did I go too far? Was it cruel? My answer is simple. I didn't act out of malice. I acted to reclaim balance. Karma isn't revenge. It's the natural consequence of choices, and in this case, I orchestrated the timing and exposure carefully, ensuring justice was served while preserving my dignity. Through this, I learned that true justice doesn't need theatrics. It doesn't need anger or hatred. It needs precision, patience, and understanding of human nature. It is about ensuring that the scales tip back in favor of fairness, without losing yourself in the process. I didn't just hurt him, I restored balance. I reclaimed control. And I proved to myself that betrayal, no matter how deep, doesn't have to break you. It can refine you, sharpen your instincts, and reveal the depth of your own power. After the dust settled, I took time to reflect on who I was before the betrayal and who I had become. The old me might have cried, raged, or run away, but the new me faced the pain with calm strategy, emotional intelligence, and an unwavering sense of self-worth. I began nurturing relationships that truly mattered. Friendships that had drifted during the turmoil were revived. My career flourished because I had the mental clarity to focus on what really mattered. And most importantly, I started to trust myself again, my instincts, my judgment, my ability to navigate the complexities of life without being blinded by emotion. Healing isn't about forgetting. Healing isn't about returning to the life you had before. Healing is about building a stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself. And that's exactly what I did. There are a few lessons I hope anyone watching can take away from my story. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Early intuition often saves you from deeper pain. Patience is power. Reacting impulsively can sabotage justice. Careful planning ensures maximum impact with minimal regret. Empowerment comes from within. True strength is reclaiming your life and dignity, not just causing someone else to feel pain. Betrayal reveals character. It shows the worst in others but also the best in you if you choose to rise above it. Justice is sweet when earned. Revenge without moral clarity is empty. When calculated with fairness, it becomes transformative and validating. I hope anyone watching can see that betrayal doesn't have to destroy you. It can reveal your strength, your intelligence, and your capacity to rise above. Now, life is quiet but full. I've rebuilt my personal and professional life, stronger and more focused than ever. I've learned to value myself, my time, and my energy above anyone else's deception or opinion. Mark, I hear he's struggling. His social circles have shifted, his reputation tarnished, and he's finally confronted with the consequences of his choices. I don't revel in his pain anymore. He got what he earned, and my role in orchestrating justice was about fairness, not cruelty. For me, the victory is in peace of mind. The victory is knowing that betrayal doesn't have to define your story. You can write your own ending, and it can be beautiful, empowering, and triumphant. I survived. I grew. I reclaimed myself. And nothing, not betrayal, not deceit, not arrogance, can take that away. And while my story ends here, betrayal, heartbreak, and deception are universal experiences. There are countless others whose journeys involve shocking revelations, strategic justice, and emotional triumph. In the next story, we'll explore another tale of betrayal, different faces, different circumstances, but the same lesson: resilience, strategy, and self-worth can turn devastation into empowerment. So if you've ever felt wronged, stay tuned. There's a lot more to learn from real-life revenge and redemption stories. Life is full of tests. But each test teaches, strengthens, and refines us. The journey never truly ends, it just evolves. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. I shared this story not to boast, but to show that betrayal, heartbreak, and deception, while devastating, can be transformed into clarity, empowerment, and justice. Remember, strength is not measured by how much you endure, it's measured by how you rise after the fall. Life will test you, people will disappoint you, and sometimes, it will hurt more than you ever imagined. But you have the power to reclaim control, to assert your worth, and to ensure justice is served, on your terms. If this story inspired you, gave you chills, or made you reflect on your own life, hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's the most satisfying justice or revenge you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of betrayal, resilience, and ultimate payback. Remember, life may hand you betrayal, but it also gives you the tools to rise stronger than ever before.